The morning sky on New Jeju Colony turned dark without warning. Farmers working in the fields looked up to see something impossible blocking the sun. A ship, massive beyond anything humanity had ever built, hung in the sky like a black mountain. It was 3 times larger than Earth's biggest battleship, and it had appeared from nowhere. Admiral Hyun-woo Park was drinking coffee on the orbital command station above Earth when the alert came through. His hand stopped moving halfway to his mouth. The screen showed the alien vessel over New Jeju, and his chest tightened. In 40 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. "Get me everything we have on that ship," he said to his crew. His voice stayed calm, but inside, fear crawled up his spine. The alien ship began transmitting. Every screen across New Jeju, every computer, every communication device, suddenly showed the same image. A tall figure appeared, covered in dark armor that seemed to absorb light. Its face was hidden behind a helmet, but its voice came through clearly, translated into perfect human language. "I am High Chancellor of the Galactic Dominion. Your species has been observed. You have expanded into territories that belong to our empire. Territories we claimed before your ancestors learned to make fire. You have 30 solar cycles to comply with our demands. Dismantle your military fleets. Cease all expansion beyond your current worlds. Submit to Dominion governance. If you refuse, we will correct this mistake. You will be exterminated." The transmission ended. For a moment, complete silence filled New Jeju. Then alarm started screaming. On Earth, Ambassador Hana Lee watched the transmission with her hands clenched into fists. She had spent 20 years building humanity's reputation as peaceful explorers. Now this empire, this dominion, threatened everything. They spoke to humans like they were insects to be stepped on. "Get me a line to the United Earth Council," she told her assistant. "Now." Dr. Yuna Choi was in her laboratory when she saw the message. She was humanity's best weapons designer. Though her weapons had mostly gathered dust for decades, humanity had been peaceful since leaving Earth. Now she stared at the alien ship on her screen and felt her old instincts wake up. This was a threat. Threats needed to be answered. Captain Dae-hyun Kim was running combat drills on his ship Thunderstrike when the alert reached him. He was young for a captain, only 35, but he had earned his position through skill and courage. His ship was experimental, fitted with prototype weapons that had never been tested in real combat. He stopped the drill immediately. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." Across 17 human colonies, the reaction was the same. Shock, then anger, then determination. Humanity had fought too hard to reach the stars. They had survived wars, plagues, and disasters. They had united their fractured world and pushed into space through pure stubbornness. Now some ancient empire thought they could simply command humanity to kneel. The United Earth Council met within hours. Representatives from every colony joined the emergency session. Admiral Park connected from his command station. Ambassador Hana Lee stood before the council, her face hard as stone. "They think we're children," she said. "They think we'll be scared into submission. I propose we show them exactly what humans do when threatened." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would not surrender. Hana Lee composed the response herself. She chose her words carefully, knowing the galaxy would hear them. When she finished, she broadcast it on all frequencies, making sure the Dominion would receive it clearly. "To the Galactic Dominion, we are humanity. We earned our place among the stars through blood, sweat, and determination. We bow to no empire, ancient or otherwise. We will not dismantle our fleets. We will not stop our expansion. We will not submit. If you want our worlds, come and take them from us." The Dominion's response came within minutes. The massive alien ship over New Jeju opened fire. Brilliant beams of energy lanced down from the sky, hitting the colony's orbital platforms. The platforms had shields, good shields, the best human technology could build. The alien weapons cut through them like they weren't even there. Explosions bloomed in orbit. Metal and fire rained down from the sky. 5 platforms destroyed in 5 seconds. Over 2,000 people died before they could even scream. Admiral Park watched it happen. He watched his people die, watched human technology fail completely against this enemy. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly. Commander Ji-woo Nam had served with Park for 15 years. She knew him well enough to see the rage building behind his calm face. "Orders?" Park stood up slowly. He looked at the alien ship on his screen, memorizing its shape. "Send a message to all fleet commanders. Protocol Warforge is now active. Every ship, Every weapon, every resource we have goes to one purpose. We're going to war. Across human space, shipyards roared to life. Factories that had been building civilian transport switched to military production. Mining operations redirected all resources to the fleet. Humanity had 17 star systems, millions of people, and 200 warships. It wasn't nearly enough. Dr. Yuna Choi stared at the readings from New Jeju. The data showed how easily the alien weapons had destroyed human shields. She ran the numbers 3 times, hoping she was wrong. She wasn't. With current technology, humanity couldn't fight this enemy. Their shields were too strong, their weapons too powerful. But Yuna hadn't become chief weapons designer by accepting defeat. She called her best engineers together. "We have 30 days, she told them. 30 days to figure out how to hurt something that's 1,000 years more advanced than us. Get to work." Captain Dae Hyun Kim volunteered his ship for the first combat mission. "They think we're beaten," he told Admiral Park. "Let me show them we're not." Park looked at the young captain for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Don't die stupidly out there. I'll try my best, sir." The galaxy watched humanity's defiance with curiosity and pity. The Dominion had crushed 1,000 rebellions. They had destroyed civilizations that had been spacefaring for millennia. Humanity was barely 200 years off their planet. Most aliens gave them less than a week before they surrendered. They didn't understand humans at all. In her quarters, Ambassador Hana Lee looked at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was preparing to end her species. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt calm. Humanity had always been at its best when facing impossible odds. "Come on, then," she whispered to the stars. "Let's see who breaks first." The wreckage from New Jeju's orbital platforms arrived at Dr. Yuna Choi's laboratory in pieces. She stood over the twisted metal, still warm from the alien weapons that had destroyed it. Her team worked around her, scanning every fragment, analyzing every burn mark. They needed to understand what had killed these stations so quickly. "The energy signature is unlike anything we've seen," said Engineer Bora Shin, looking up from her scanner. She was young, barely 25, but brilliant. "Their weapons operate on a frequency our shields can't even detect, let alone stop." Yuna nodded slowly. She had suspected as much. The Dominion had been building weapons for thousands of years. Human shields had been designed to stop human weapons. Of course, they were useless against alien technology. "Then we don't use shields," Yuna said. "We use something older." Bora looked confused. "Older? What's older than energy shields?" "Armor, thick, heavy armor. And if that doesn't work, we don't let them hit us at all." On Earth, General Sang-Woo Jang stood in a command center surrounded by holographic displays. Each display showed a different shipyard, a different factory, a different training facility. All of them were working at maximum capacity. He had ordered every military installation in human space to prepare for total war. "How many ships can we build in 30 days?" he asked his logistics officer. "With every yard working nonstop, maybe 600 more. They won't be pretty and they won't have all the features of our regular ships, but they'll fly and they'll fight." Sang-Woo did the math in his head. 800 total ships against an enemy that had destroyed 5 platforms in 5 seconds. The numbers weren't good. But numbers weren't everything. Humans had won wars against worse odds. In orbit around Mars, Captain Mina Kwan drilled her fighter pilots harder than they had ever been drilled before. Her squadron had been practicing formation flying when the Dominion's message arrived. Now they practiced combat maneuvers 16 hours a day. "Again," she shouted into her comm system as her pilots completed another attack run. "You're too slow. The enemy won't wait for you to get into position." One of her pilots, a young woman named Su Jin, complained over the private channel. "Captain, we've done this run 40 times today. We need rest." "You'll rest when you're dead," Mina snapped back, "which will be about 5 seconds into real combat if you don't get faster." "Again!" The pilots groaned but obeyed. Mina watched them fly, her eyes critical. Fighter pilots were considered obsolete by most spacefaring civilizations. Small craft couldn't carry the weapons needed to threaten capital ships. But Mina had studied Earth's ancient wars. She had read about how swarms of small aircraft had changed warfare centuries ago. Maybe the galaxy had forgotten those lessons. Maybe humanity could teach them again. Back in Yuna's laboratory, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Scientist Young Sik Baek was a physicist, not a weapons designer. He had been studying the Dominion shield technology, trying to understand how it worked. After 3 days without sleep, he stumbled into Yuna's office with wild eyes and messy hair. "I figured it out," he said, nearly falling into a chair. "Their shields work by creating a harmonic frequency field. It's incredibly stable, which is why it can stop so much energy. But stability can be a weakness," Yuna leaned forward. "Explain." "If we can match their frequency and then rapidly cycle through variations, we can create a resonance cascade. The shield will try to adapt, but if we change frequencies fast enough, it will destabilize. Like shattering glass with sound. How fast is fast enough? Thousands of cycles per second. We'd need completely new weapons." Yuna smiled grimly. "Then we'll build them." "How long?" 20 days. Maybe less if we skip the safety testing." "Skip it. We don't have time for safe." Engineer Bora Shin came running in with her own discovery. "I think I know how to hurt them even without breaking their shields," she said breathlessly. She pulled up a simulation on Yuna's screen. "Look at this. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. Lasers, plasma, particle beams. But what about simple kinetic energy? You want to throw rocks at them?" Yuna asked. "Not rocks. Tungsten ores. Dense, heavy, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The shields will try to stop them, but pure kinetic energy works differently than directed energy. The impact will transfer through the shield. We might not destroy them, but we'll definitely hurt them." Yuna looked at the simulation. It was crude, almost primitive compared to modern weapons. That was exactly why it might work. "How fast can you build these?" "The rods themselves are easy. The acceleration system will take 2 weeks. You have 10 days. Bora's eyes went wide, but she nodded. She had known what she was signing up for. Captain Dae-hyun Kim took Thunderstrike out of dock ahead of schedule. His crew had worked day and night to install the new weapon systems Yuna's team had designed. Half of them were untested. The other half had been tested once and had mixed results. It didn't matter. They needed to prove humanity could fight. "Captain," his tactical officer said nervously, "we don't even know if these weapons will work." "Then we'll find out," Dae-hyun replied calmly. "Plot a course for the Dominion scout ship near Titan. We're going hunting." Admiral Park watched Thunderstrike leave from his command station. Commander Ji-woo-nam stood beside him, her expression worried. "You think he can do it?" she asked quietly. "I think he'll try," Park said. "That's all we can ask right now." Training intensified across all 17 systems. Marines practiced boarding actions and mock-ups of alien ship interiors. Engineers welded hull plating onto civilian transports, turning them into makeshift warships. Scientists worked until they collapsed, then woke up and worked more. The galaxy watched humanity's preparations with mixed reactions. Some civilizations sent secret messages of support, though they wouldn't dare help openly. Others placed bets on how quickly the Dominion would crush this rebellion. A few ancient races watched with interest, remembering their own early days of defiance. On day 15, Thunderstrike found its target. The Dominion scout ship was smaller than the vessel that had destroyed New Jeju's platforms, but it was still twice the size of Dae-hyun's ship. It hung in space near Titan's moon, scanning human installations with obvious contempt. "They're not even trying to hide," Dae-hyun's weapons officer observed. "They don't think we're a threat." "Let's change their minds," Dae-hyun said. "All weapons, prepare to fire. Approach at maximum speed." Thunderstrike accelerated toward the alien ship. For a long moment, the Dominion vessel did nothing. Then its weapons came online and it began to turn. But human ships were built for speed and maneuverability. Thunderstrike was faster. The experimental weapons fired. Beams of energy that cycled through thousands of frequencies per second struck the alien shields. The shields held, but they flickered. They had never encountered this type of attack before. The scout ship's weapons returned fire, but Dae-hyun was already moving, his ship dancing through space like a fighter instead of a warship. "Fire kinetic impactors," Dae-hyun ordered. Tungsten rods launched from Thunderstrike's new weapons, accelerated by magnetic coils to incredible speeds. They struck the Dominion shields and something amazing happened. The shields didn't break, but they couldn't fully stop the kinetic energy. The rods hit the hull beneath, leaving deep gouges in the alien armor. The scout ship seemed to pause as if surprised. It launched a spread of missiles at Thunderstrike. Dae-hyun dove under them, flying his ship through a gap that should have been too small. One missile clipped his shields and alarms screamed, but they held. "Again," Dae-hyun shouted. "Hit them again!" More kinetic rounds fired. More hits against the alien hull. The scout ship was trying to retreat now, trying to get distance. But Daehyun stayed close, his ship moving in ways the aliens hadn't anticipated. Then the frequency-cycling weapons found their resonance. The alien shields flickered once, twice, and collapsed completely. For 3 seconds, the scout ship was vulnerable. Daehyun didn't waste the opportunity. Every weapon on Thunderstrike fired at once. Missiles, railguns, lasers, everything. The alien hull, built to withstand the weapons of advanced civilizations, couldn't handle the concentrated barrage. The scout ship's engines exploded. It began to drift, lifeless and broken. "Target destroyed," the tactical officer said, her voice filled with shock. "We actually killed it." Daehyun leaned back in his chair, adrenaline still flooding his system. "Send all combat data to Dr. Choi. Tell her it works. Tell Admiral Park we can fight these things. And tell them," he added with a grim smile, "that humanity just drew first blood." Day 30 arrived with clear skies and quiet stars. Then space itself tore open at the edge of the solar system. Ships emerged from faster-than-light travel, one after another, until 50 massive vessels hung in the void like metal gods. The Dominion fleet had come to deliver their promised punishment. Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, indomitable, watching the enemy fleet approach. Around him, 800 human ships waited in formation near Titan's moon. They looked small compared to the Dominion vessels. They were small. But size wasn't everything. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," he transmitted across the fleet. "They think we'll break easily. They think we're primitives who got lucky with one scout ship. Show them what humanity really is. Show them what happens when you threaten our homes." The Dominion commander sent one final message. His voice was cold and certain. "Your time has expired. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Resist, and your species will know suffering beyond measure." Park's response was simple. "Come and get us." The Dominion fleet began its advance. They moved slowly, confidently, like hunters who had already won. They had crushed rebellions on 1,000 worlds. They had exterminated species that had been spacefaring longer than humans had been walking upright. This would be no different. They were wrong. Captain Mina Kwan sat in her fighter cockpit, her hands steady on the controls despite her racing heart. Behind her, 3,000 other pilots waited in similar fighters hidden in Titan's shadow. The galaxy thought fighters were obsolete. The Dominion didn't even use them. They were about to learn why Earth's ancient wars had been won by swarms of small, fast aircraft. "All wings, this is Wing Commander Kwan," she transmitted. "When I give the signal, we hit them from all sides at once. Don't try to kill the big ships, just overwhelm their targeting systems. Make them waste ammunition on us while the fleet gets into position. And remember, dying is easy. Making them pay for every meter of space is hard. Choose hard." The Dominion fleet closed to within weapons range. Their capital ships began charging their main guns, preparing to repeat what they had done at New Jeju. Destroy the orbital defenses first, then systematically eliminate the human fleet. "Now," Mina screamed into her comm. "All wings, attack." 3,000 fighters burst from hiding like angry hornets from a kicked nest. They came from above, below, and all sides, moving faster than the Dominion targeting computers had been programmed to track. The alien ships had been designed to fight other capital ships, not clouds of tiny, agile craft. Mina dove toward the nearest Dominion ship, her weapons firing. Her missiles were too small to seriously damage the alien vessel, but that wasn't the point. A dozen other fighters targeted the same ship, their missiles forcing its point defense systems to activate. More fighters swarmed other vessels, each one demanding attention, demanding ammunition, demanding processing power from enemy computers. "They're trying to lock onto us," one of her pilots called out. "Evasive pattern Delta." The fighters scattered, regrouped, and attacked again. It was chaos, beautiful and terrible. Some fighters died, shot down by alien weapons, but for every human pilot that fell, 20 more pressed the attack. On Indomitable's bridge, Commander Jiwoo Nam watched the battle develop. "The fighters are working, sir. Enemy targeting systems are overloading, trying to track them all." "Good," Park said. "Launch Phase 2. From positions hidden throughout the Titan system, Engineer Bo-Ra Shin's kinetic kill vehicles activated. These weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They were simply massive tungsten rods with powerful engines attached. They accelerated toward the Dominion fleet, building speed until they were moving at 10% of light speed. The Dominion shields detected them coming and prepared to deflect them. Shields designed to stop energy weapons, designed by the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. The rods hit the shields and something unprecedented happened. The shields held, but the kinetic energy had to go somewhere. It transferred through the shield matrix, dispersed across the generator network, and overloaded 3 primary nodes on the first ship. The shields flickered and failed. 2 more rods struck the now vulnerable hull, punching through armor like paper and destroying the ship's reactor core. The first Dominion capital ship exploded in a ball of fire and radiation. "Confirmed kill," the tactical officer shouted. "Target 1 is destroyed." Park allowed himself a small smile. "Target their damaged ships. Focus fire where the shields are weakest." Captain Dae-Hyun Kim led the Vanguard assault in Thunderstrike, now accompanied by 200 warships. They had the combat data from his first engagement. They knew the frequency cycling weapons worked. They knew the kinetic impactors worked. Now they needed to prove it could work on a large scale. "All ships activate frequency cycling mode," Dae-Hyun ordered. "Target the nearest enemy vessel and fire on my mark." 200 ships fired as one. 200 beams of energy that shifted through thousands of frequencies per second struck a single Dominion warship. The alien shields held for 3 seconds. Then resonance cascades began forming, spreading through the shield matrix like cracks in ice. The shields collapsed. Kinetic weapons fire. Tungsten rods and old-fashioned missiles slammed into the exposed hull. The Dominion ship tried to bring its weapons to bear, but it was too late. Its hull ruptured in a dozen places. Atmosphere vented into space. The ship began to drift, crippled and dying. The Dominion fleet suddenly understood they were in a real fight. Their formation tightened as they tried to protect their damaged vessels. Their weapons began firing in earnest, no longer holding back. Human ships died, torn apart by energy beams that could melt a mountain. But for every human ship destroyed, the fleet adapted and learned. Dr. Yuna Choi watched the battle from a safe distance aboard a research vessel. She saw her weapons perform exactly as designed. She also saw where they failed, where they needed improvement. Her fingers flew across her keyboard, sending updates and modifications to the fleet in real time. "Adjust frequency cycling pattern to Alpha 7, she transmitted to the fleet. "It will work better against their shield harmonics." The human fleet adapted instantly. Their weapons became more effective. More Dominion shields flickered and failed. Mina Kwan's fighter wing was down to 2,000 craft now, 1,000 pilots dead in 20 minutes of combat. But they had accomplished their mission. The Dominion fleet was confused, disorganized, spending half their processing power trying to swat flies while human capital ships closed in for the kill. "All wings, final attack run," Mina ordered. "Give them everything you have left." Her remaining fighters dove toward the Dominion flagship, a massive vessel that had been hanging back from the main battle. It was 3 times the size of any other ship in the battle, bristling with weapons. Mina didn't care. Her fighter screamed through space, dodging point defense fire that could have vaporized her in an instant. She launched every missile she had left, watched them streak toward the flagship's shields. They exploded against the barrier, doing no visible damage, but they forced the shields to work, to consume power to reveal their frequency patterns. "Dr. Choi," Mina transmitted. "I'm sending you the flagship's shield data." "Received," Yuna responded immediately. "Calculating. Got it." "All ships target the flagship with frequency pattern Beta 3. The human fleet turned as one and fired on the Dominion flagship. Hundreds of beams struck its shields simultaneously. The shields held, then flickered. Just for a moment. Just long enough. Captain Dae-Hyun Kim saw the opening and didn't hesitate. He pushed Thunderstrike's engines to maximum and charged directly at the flagship. His crew thought he was insane. They were probably right. "All weapons, continuous fire," Dae-Hyun ordered. "Don't stop until we're through or we're dead." Thunderstrike dove toward the flagship like a meteor, its weapons blazing. The Dominion ship's point defense tried to stop the suicidal attack, but human fighters swarmed in the way, blocking shots, taking hits meant for Dae-Hyun's ship. Pilots he had never met dying to give him his chance. At point-blank range, Thunderstrike unleashed everything. Missiles, railguns, kinetic impactors, frequency cycling beams. The flagship's shields collapsed completely under the assault. Its armor, designed to withstand anything, cracked under weapons it had never been designed to face. Dae-Hyun flew past the flagship, his ship trailing smoke and fire. Behind him, the Dominion command vessel's bridge exploded. The massive ship began to tilt, its engines failing, its systems shutting down. "The flagship is hit," Someone shouted across the fleet channels. The flagship is going down. The Dominion fleet hesitated just for a moment. Their commander was dead or dying. Their formation was broken. Human fighters still swarmed around them. Human capital ships were closing in, their strange weapons breaking shields that should have been unbreakable. For the first time in their 1,000-year history, the Dominion fleet retreated. They pulled back, carrying their damaged ships, leaving behind 7 destroyed vessels and thousands of escape pods. On Indomitable's bridge, Commander Ji Woo Nam stared at her displays in disbelief. "Sir, they're retreating. We won." Admiral Park nodded slowly. His fleet was battered. 300 ships destroyed, over 50,000 people dead. The Dominion's pride was wounded, and wounded predators are the most dangerous. They sent 10 times the force that had retreated from Titan. 500 capital ships entered human space over the following weeks, spreading across all 17 colonies like a plague. The message was clear. If one fleet couldn't crush humanity, overwhelming numbers would. But humanity had been busy too. Dr. Yuna Choi's team had salvaged intact shield generators from Dominion wrecks. They had captured an abandoned alien ship near Neptune and taken it apart piece by piece. Human scientists worked day and night to understand technology that should have been beyond them. "It's incredible," Yuna told Admiral Park during a secure transmission. "Their technology isn't just advanced, it's elegant. But we can replicate it now. We understand how their shields work, how their faster-than-light drives function. Give us 3 months and every human ship will have Dominion-level defenses." "We don't have 3 months," Park replied. "How fast can you retrofit the existing fleet?" 2 weeks for the first 100 ships. After that, 1 week per 100. Do it. And Yuna? Make the next generation of weapons even better than what they have." Yuna smiled grimly. "Already working on it." The war spread across human space like wildfire. The Dominion attempted to capture colonies rather than destroy them, wanting to make examples of humanity's defiance. They didn't understand what they were asking for. On the colony of New Seoul, General Tae Min Song waited for the Dominion ground forces with 40,000 Marines and an entire population armed and ready to resist. The aliens landed expecting frightened civilians. They found veterans of Earth's last wars, people who remembered what it meant to fight for survival. The Dominion soldiers were larger than humans, stronger, and equipped with better armor, but they had never fought an enemy that refused to surrender. They had never experienced urban warfare against a population that knew every building, every tunnel, every hiding spot. General Song watched from his command post as alien troops advanced into New Seoul's capital city. "Let them get deep into the city," he ordered his commanders. "Then close the trap." The Dominion forces pushed forward, encountering only light resistance. They thought the humans were retreating in fear. Then buildings exploded, roads collapsed, and Marines appeared from underground tunnels firing weapons at point-blank range. The city had become a killing ground. Human soldiers weren't as strong as the aliens, but they were faster, more adaptable, and absolutely relentless. They fought from rooftops, from sewers, from inside buildings the Dominion had already cleared. Every block was a battle. Every street corner was defended. "Fall back." The Dominion ground commander ordered his troops. They had taken the city center, but they had lost 30% of their forces doing it, and they still controlled nothing. The humans were everywhere and nowhere, appearing to kill and disappearing before retaliation could come. In space above New Seoul, Captain Hana Lee commanded the warship Defiant. She had been an ambassador once, trained in diplomacy and negotiation. War had changed her, hardened her, turned her into something the Dominion couldn't have predicted. She watched the battle on the planet below and made her decision. "Take us into atmosphere," she ordered her crew. "We're going to provide close support for our ground forces." Her tactical officer looked shocked. "Captain, warships aren't designed for atmospheric combat. The Dominion will target us the moment we enter their range." "I know," Hana said calmly. "But our people are dying down there. We're going to help them." Defiant dove into New Seoul's atmosphere, its shields flaring as it hit air at orbital speeds. Dominion ground forces looked up in shock as a human warship appeared overhead like an avenging angel. Hana's weapons officer targeted enemy positions with precision that only came from being this close, this low. "Fire," Hana ordered. Railgun rounds and missiles struck Dominion positions. Enemy armor designed to fight infantry couldn't withstand capital ship weapons. Entire battalions vanished in explosions of fire and metal. The Dominion ground forces broke and retreated to their landing ships. "Pursuit course," Hana ordered. "Don't let them escape." Defiant chased the retreating transports into orbit, its weapons destroying 3 ships before the others could jump to faster-than-light speed. Hana's ship had taken significant damage from ground fire, but they had saved New Sol. The colony had held. Similar battles played out across human space. The Dominion had the numbers, the technology, the experience. But humanity had desperation, innovation, and an absolute refusal to quit. Every battle taught human forces new lessons, revealed new weaknesses in the enemy. Lieutenant Jin-Ho Ryu led the first successful boarding action against a Dominion capital ship. His Marine team had been studying captured alien vessels, learning their layouts, finding their vulnerabilities. When a damaged Dominion destroyer drifted too close to human lines, Jin-Ho saw his opportunity. "Boarding teams, launch," he ordered. Small assault craft attached to the alien hull like leeches. Marines cut through the outer armor with plasma torches and poured into the ship's interior. The Dominion crew was shocked. No one boarded capital ships anymore. It was considered primitive, dangerous, inefficient. The Dominion soldiers inside the ship were well trained for ship defense, but they had never trained against enemies who fought like humans. Jin-Ho's Marines moved in tight formations, using shields and suppressing fire to advance through corridors. They used grenades, close-quarters weapons, and brutal hand-to-hand combat when necessary. "Engineering section secured," Jin-Ho reported as his team captured the ship's reactor controls. "This vessel is ours." Across the fleet, boarding actions became standard tactics. Human Marines learned to exploit the fact that Dominion ships were designed for external combat, not internal security. They captured ships, salvaged technology, and sometimes turned captured vessels against their former owners. Captain Dae-Hyun Kim had been promoted to command a carrier battle group. His reputation from the Battle of Titan had grown, and young pilots competed for positions in his squadrons. He had perfected the fighter swarm tactics that had proven so effective. "The key," he told his wing commanders, "is that we're not trying to be better than them. We're trying to be different. They fight one way. They've fought that way for 1,000 years. We fight every way we can think of, and we adapt faster than they can respond." His carrier group engaged a Dominion fleet near the colony of Busan. The aliens expected capital ship combat. Instead, Daehyun released 10,000 fighters in coordinated waves. The small craft used the carrier as a mobile base, rotating out to rearm while fresh squadrons maintained pressure on the enemy. The Dominion fleet was slowly overwhelmed, not by superior firepower, but by sheer relentless pressure. They couldn't rest, couldn't regroup, couldn't do anything but fight a swarm of enemies that seemed infinite. 8 months into the war, neither side had achieved decisive victory. Human colonies burned, but so did Dominion ships. The Empire had committed 1/3 of its entire military to ending humanity, and they were no closer to victory than when they started. In her laboratory, Dr. Yuna Choi made the discovery that would change everything. She had been studying the Dominion's faster-than-light communication system, trying to understand how they coordinated fleets across vast distances. She found the answer, and it was both brilliant and terribly vulnerable. "Their entire fleet is connected through a quantum network," she explained to Admiral Park. "Every ship, every station, all linked to central command nodes. It allows perfect coordination, instant communication across light years." "That sounds like an advantage for them," Park said. "It is, until you realize that a networked system has a single point of failure. If we can access and disrupt their command nodes, their entire fleet goes blind. Every ship becomes isolated, unable to coordinate or call for reinforcements." Park leaned forward in his chair. "Can you do it? With the right access?" "Yes, but we'd need to physically reach one of their command nodes. They're heavily defended, probably the most protected assets in their entire military." "Then we'll have to take one," Park said simply. "Send me everything you have on their command network. I'll start planning the operation." Word spread through the human fleet. A major offensive was coming, something that could turn the tide of the war. Pilots trained harder. Marines sharpened their skills. Engineers worked overtime building new weapons. Captain Hana Lee received orders to lead a diversionary attack at Wolf 359. Her mission was simple but deadly. Draw away as much of the Dominion fleet as possible. Keep them occupied while the main attack went in. She read the orders and understood what they meant. Diversionary attacks were suicide missions dressed in tactical language. She accepted anyway. General Sang-Woo Jang coordinated assaults across 5 systems, spreading Dominion forces thin. Every human colony launched attacks simultaneously, forcing the enemy to defend everywhere at once. The galaxy watched humanity's desperate gambit with fascination. Some civilizations began to hope. Others prepared to witness humanity's final extinction. Everyone agreed that the next battle would determine the war's outcome. Captain Dae-hyun Kim read his orders aboard Thunderstrike and felt his stomach tighten. He would lead the strike force to the Dominion's Central Command Nexus. The attack began at dawn across 5 star systems. General Sang-Woo Jang's forces struck Dominion positions simultaneously, coordinated to the second. Explosions bloomed in space as human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel and immediately opened fire. The Dominion fleet scrambled to respond, pulling reserves from defensive positions to counter the unexpected assaults. At Wolf 359, Captain Hana Lee led her diversionary attack against the Dominion's largest staging area. She commanded 200 ships against a force 3 times her size. Her crew knew this was a suicide mission. They attacked anyway. All ships, maximum aggression, Hana transmitted. Make them think this is our main assault. Make them commit everything to stopping us. Her fleet dove into the enemy formation like sharks into a school of fish. Weapons blazing, shields flaring, ships dying but always pushing forward. The Dominion commander took the bait, committing his reserve forces to crush what he thought was humanity's final desperate gambit. They're pulling ships from the Central Command Nexus, her tactical officer reported. The diversion is working. Good, Hana said quietly. She watched 3 more of her ships die on the display. 60 ships already lost in 20 minutes. Keep pushing. We need to hold them here as long as possible. Captain Dae-hyun Kim's strike force jumped into the heart of Dominion territory at the same moment. 300 ships emerged directly in front of the enemy's Central Command Nexus, a massive space station defended by 50 capital ships. Except now, thanks to Hana's diversion, there were only 30 ships defending at still impossible odds. But better than 50. All ships activate Prometheus Protocol, Dae-hyun ordered. Every ship in his fleet activated Dr. Unichoi's newest weapon simultaneously. The Prometheus Protocol was elegant and devastating. A harmonic resonance generator that broadcast a specific frequency pattern through space. It was designed to exploit a fundamental flaw in the Dominion's shield technology that young Sik Bayek had discovered. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Dominion shields throughout the system began resonating with the broadcast frequency. Like a virus spreading through a computer network, the resonance cascade propagated from ship to ship through their interconnected shield matrices. Generators overloaded. Power systems surged. Within 30 seconds, half the defending ships had lost their primary shields. Now, Dae-hyun screamed. Hit them now while they're vulnerable. His fleet opened fire with every weapon they had. Kinetic impactors, missiles, railguns, frequency-cycling energy beams. The Dominion ships, suddenly stripped of their greatest defense, staggered under the assault. 3 ships exploded immediately. 4 more took critical damage. But the Dominion wasn't finished. The remaining defenders fought back with desperate fury. Human ships died in brilliant explosions as alien weapons found their targets. Dae-hyun's formation took heavy casualties, but they didn't break. They never broke. Boarding teams launch, Lieutenant Jin-ho Ryu ordered from his assault carrier. All Marines, we're taking that station. Hundreds of assault craft detached from human ships and screamed toward the command nexus. Dominion Point defense tried to stop them, destroying dozens of craft, but hundreds more got through. They latched onto the station's hull like parasites and began cutting through the armor. Jin-ho was in the first wave. His Marines poured through the breach, weapons ready, facing Dominion security forces who had never expected to fight inside their most secure facility. The corridors became killing grounds as 2 species met in close combat. Push forward, Jin-ho shouted, firing his rifle at an alien soldier. We need to reach the command center. The fighting was brutal. Dominion soldiers were stronger, but human Marines were faster and more adaptable. They used tactics the aliens had never seen. Grenades bounced around corners, suppressing fire from multiple angles. Coordinated team movements that overwhelmed individual defenders. Meter by meter, corridor by corridor, Jin-ho's Marines advanced through the station. Behind them, more assault craft delivered reinforcements. The Dominion security forces fought hard, but they were losing ground. Outside, Daehyun Kim's fleet battled the remaining defenders. His ship Thunderstrike had taken heavy damage. Half his weapons were offline. His shields were failing, but he stayed in the fight, his crew working miracles to keep the ship operational. "Captain," his tactical officer shouted. "Massive enemy reinforcements incoming!" At least 100 ships. Daehyun's heart sank. If those reinforcements arrived before the Marines captured the command center, the mission would fail. Time until they arrive? 8 minutes, not enough time. They needed more time. Daehyun looked at his bridge crew, saw their frightened faces, their determined expressions. He made his decision. All remaining ships formed defensive line between the reinforcements and the station. "We hold them for as long as possible." "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "that's a suicide position." "I know," Daehyun replied, "but our Marines need time. Helm, take us to intercept position." 50 human ships, all that remained of the strike force, positioned themselves between the command nexus and the incoming Dominion reinforcements. They were damaged, low on ammunition, running on backup power. Against 100 fresh enemy ships, they had no chance of survival. They attacked anyway. Inside the station, Jinho's Marines reached the Central Command Corps. Dr. Yuna Choi was with them, carrying her equipment in a protective case. Dominion soldiers made a desperate last stand at the entrance, but human grenades and suppressing fire broke their defense. "Clear," Jinho shouted. "Dr. Choi, you're up." Yuna ran to the main control console. Her fingers flew across the interface, adapting what she had learned from captured technology to access the Dominion's quantum network. Security protocols tried to stop her, but she had spent months preparing for this moment. "I'm in," she said, her voice tight with concentration. "Uploading the virus now." Outside, Daehyun watched his ships die one by one. Thunderstrike had lost all shields and half its hull plating. Fires burned on 3 decks, but they had bought 4 minutes of time. 4 precious minutes. "Sir, we can't hold much longer," his tactical officer said. She was bleeding from a head wound but still at her post. "Then we hold anyway," Daehyun said. He fired his remaining weapons at an enemy ship, watching the shots barely scratch its shields. "A few more minutes. That's all we need." Inside the command center, Yuna's virus penetrated the final security layer and entered the Dominion's quantum network. The effect was instantaneous. Across 17 star systems, across hundreds of Dominion ships, communication systems went dark. The perfect coordination that had made the Dominion fleet so effective disappeared in seconds. Every ship suddenly fought alone. They couldn't call for orders, couldn't coordinate tactics, couldn't even warn each other about threats. The network they had relied on for thousands of years had become a liability. "It worked," Yuna shouted. "The network is down." Admiral Park, watching from Indomitable halfway across the galaxy, saw the moment everything changed. Dominion formations collapsed. Ships that had been moving with perfect precision suddenly scattered in confusion. He didn't waste the opportunity. All forces, general offensive. "Hit them now while they're blind!" Across human space, 800 warships attacked as one. Dominion vessels, isolated and confused, tried to fight back but couldn't coordinate their defenses. Captain Minaquan's fighter wings swarmed through enemy formations, exploiting the chaos. General Taemin Song's ground forces pushed forward on contested worlds, watching alien troops lose cohesion as their command network failed. At Wolf 359, Captain Hana Lee saw her chance. The Dominion fleet had suddenly stopped coordinating, ships moving independently instead of as a unified force. Her fleet, reduced to 70 ships, pressed the attack with renewed fury. "They're breaking," her tactical officer shouted. "The formation is collapsing." For the first time in the war, the Dominion fled, not just retreated, but truly fled in panic and disorder. Their ships scattered in all directions, jumping to faster-than-light speed without coordination, some even colliding in their haste to escape. At the command nexus, Daehyun Kim watched the enemy reinforcements suddenly halt their advance. They seemed confused, uncertain. Then they turned and jumped away, abandoning their attack. "We did it," his tactical officer whispered. "We actually did it." Daehyun slumped in his chair, exhausted. Around him, his crew began to cheer. Thunderstrike was barely holding together, held together by determination and repairs that wouldn't pass any safety inspection. But they had survived. The war wasn't over in a single day. Isolated Dominion forces continued fighting for weeks. But without coordination, without their command network, they were defeated piece by piece. Ships surrendered rather than die alone. Ground forces withdrew from human colonies. The great empire that had never lost a war found itself unable to fight. 3 months after the Battle of the Command Nexus, Dominion ambassadors requested peace negotiations. They arrived in human space with demands that had become pleas, their once proud voices humble. The ancient empire, which had crushed 1,000 rebellions, was ready to surrender. Ambassador Hana Lee, once again a diplomat, met with them. She had returned to civilian life, but the scars of war remained.